This is Sete Gibernau, who starts from the front row of the grid, of course, on in second place. I almost said pole position there, but of course Valentino Rossi, the man on pole. But this is the one that all the Spanish cameramen are looking at. Sete Gibernau looking to take the challenge to Rossi in 2005. Here is Rossi on pole position, and as we heard direct from the horse's mouth just a few moments ago, Nick Harris talking live to Jeremy Burgess in the Yamaha pit box. Valentino Rossi is using his second machine today, which he didn't actually ride in the morning warm-up, Nick. After crashing out of just 3 laps on his number 1 bike, he didn't even return to the track, did he? So this bike has not been ridden today, apart from on that sighting lap just now.
Yeah, Jerry Burgess seemed very confident about it, didn't he? Didn't seem worried about it at all, but no, he certainly didn't go back out. I mean, we were in the garage when it happened, and it was very early on in the session, but and the second bike was prepared. They put a new rear tyre in it, but he didn't go out. Obviously, they felt satisfied about it. He's absolutely surrounded by so many people at the moment on the front row of the grid, as is Sete Gibernau. I look up towards the first turn. Soon they're going to be racing up here for the start of the 205 World Championship. That right-hander, absolutely crucial when they get there. The wind, I would say, probably not quite as blustery as it was typically for the 125s or the 250s. It's still not going to be easy, as Troy Bayliss just told us. It's not going to be the easiest of conditions, but this is it. You're right, Matthew. Are we ready for it? I can tell you, I'm really, really ready for it.
Well, that's a relief, Nick. Certainly.
Yeah, please, now are you?
We're relying on you down there in pit lane for us today. And Sete Gibernau there, as I said, on the front row of the grid. 32 years of age now, Sete Gibernau, and he's coming into the prime of his career, and he knows that. He certainly believes that. All the press conferences, he's given off all the signals this week. He says that he's ready, he's confident, he's focusing in on himself, and he says if as long as he can focus on himself and get his level as high as it possibly can be and depend only on himself and nobody else, he thinks he can win this World Championship. And Valentino Rossi might disagree, but certainly no lack of confidence from Gibernau.
No lack of confidence at all. He's always very, very calm on the grid. I'm actually standing almost alongside him as we wait for him to actually come. He's actually standing alongside his bike at the moment, always very relaxed. His crew chief around him, pretty girl obviously with the umbrella, not talking to many people. He's ready for the battle that lies ahead. Valentino Rossi, a broad smile on his face, having a word with all the people that usually surround him, his management company and what have you. He hasn't got his helmet on yet. He looks very, very relaxed. Certainly didn't look like a man that was too bothered with what happened to him this morning. And Marco Melandri not getting quite the same attention as everybody else. Got a towel around his neck, Marco Melandri, but this is a big race for Marco, and as I say, he's looked very, very impressive during practice, during all the winter tests, and I think Marco Melandri is ready to get out there and get cracking. Got to say, he's also got a very pretty grid girl sitting next to him.
Yeah, he certainly seems to think so. He didn't mind having his photo taken there with her, did he? That's for sure. Nicky Hayden gets a closer look at the grid girls here than he did in the 125s when he was hanging over the pit wall, but I'm sure his focus now remains on the race here today, and he's still got his rather flashy MP3 sunglasses on. I wonder if he'll keep those on for the race. That would be certainly a novelty, wouldn't it, listening to music all the way around. And he is that relaxed, Nicky Hayden, that you wouldn't put it past him, that sort of stuff. But there he is. 4th on the grid today, fastest man here at Jerez. He dipped under the 140 mark at the tests 2 weeks ago here, the final pre-season test.
Can I just butt in, Matthew, because I'm with Marco Melandri now. Marco, been a great season of testing, great practice, great qualifying. Now the big moment, the race.
Yeah. Now all the winter is cancelled. We start with the race, and will be very difficult because the wind is so strong, but it's a bit better than this morning. But anyway, the feeling with the bike is not too bad. I'll do my race. I will see after 27 lap if I can get a podium or not. But anyway, I will have fun.
Marco, thank you and good luck.
Well, if Marco Melandri has fun, I'm sure that we will do as well. Of course, one of the most exciting races to come through at the moment. You've got to say, Nick, with Marco Melandri in 3rd place and Nicky Hayden in 4th, some real youthful promise there to challenge Rossi and Gibernau.
Yeah, and I think it's important, isn't it? We've talked about it with the 125s, we've talked about it with the 250s. I think it's very, very important that young riders make their way through. And as I say, Melandri, Hopkins and Hayden, I think they're the guys that are going to do it. Now, all the riders are making their way to the front of the grid. We do know there's going to be a minute's silence, obviously, to celebrate the life, I think, more than anything, than Pope John fall the second. But the minute silence about to start any moment now, but all the riders, all the dignitaries making their way to the front of the grid. And it's almost like the pre-season photograph, and it's got obviously a nervous time for the riders. They're all together shaking hands and talking away to each other, but the race is ahead. But before then, they will pay their respects to a very, very special man.
Well, 140,000 screaming Spaniards who've been making noise all day here for the 125 and 250cc races, about to be plunged into complete silence. And Spain, a strictly Catholic country, and now a minute's silence in respect of the late John Paul II.
Bueno, amigos y amigas, un minuto de silencio, por favor, en memoria de Juan Pablo II. Gracias. Empieza a contar en este momento el minuto.
Okay, I think that's the end of the minute silence, Matthew. And the riders now make their way back to rejoin their machines. 27 laps of this Jerez circuit in Spain. A record crowd approaching 150,000 people here this afternoon. It does not get much better than this. Cancel the tea, cancel the beer, settle yourselves down. MotoGP is back. Round one of the 2005 MotoGP World Championship.
Valentino Rossi, the picture of focus. He knows what this means today. He's got to get off to the right start. He does love to do that. And although the World Championship is not decided or ended here, of course, we've got 17 rounds to go. And that was one of the big things that came across in the pre-event press conference, wasn't it, Nick? Valentino Rossi and Sete Gibernau both saying 17 rounds. There's a long, long way to go.
Yeah, we try to build things up, don't we? This is the race, everything else, and they didn't poo-poo it, but it's a marathon, isn't it? It's not a sprint. An extra race this year, 7 months. It's a long, long season. 3 races in the space of 3 weeks. I think that's important, and you could certainly not win the championship in those 3 races, but you could definitely lose it in those 3 races. So consistency, point scoring in those opening 3 rounds is vital. You could lose your way if you're a real championship contender and not be a championship contender if you don't score consistent points in those races. You're not going to win the title then, but you could lose it.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And seeing what happened this morning with Valentino Rossi on the warm-up, or in the morning warm-up, of course, just a reminder, if you're just joining us, Valentino Rossi crashed in the warm-up this morning. He was uninjured, but his bike was extensively damaged, and he is now on his reserve machine for this race. So really not the preparation he would have wanted. But anyway, further back, we've already seen Nicky Hayden in 4th place on the grid, Shinya Nakano with an excellent qualifying performance, and all really in practice on the race tyres as well. It wasn't just a sticky tyre that Nakano shoved in to qualify 5th. Loris Capirossi, though, an absolutely heroic effort from him to qualify 6th fastest after chipping in a bone in his ankle after crashing yesterday morning. 7th fastest, Makoto Tamada, riding on Michelin tyres this year after switching from Bridgestone.
Yeah, Capirossi, you've got to say, he's still limping around pit lane and then getting on the bike. We looked at him this morning, didn't we? And he's had a real crack on that ankle. What an incredible performance to finish 6th. And actually, when he went out for that final qualifying session, or the only qualifying session, he ran the bike into the gravel very early on. That might have been enough to put some people off. No, he qualified in 6th place. If he can stay the pace, if he's got enough painkillers pumped into that ankle, we have to wait and see. But he's a tough man. If you're ever in a bit of bother anywhere in the world, he's the most charming, friendly bloke you'd ever want to meet. But I would imagine he'd also be a great ally on your side. Loris Capirossi, 125 world champion, 250cc world champion, and now the hope of Ducati to bring Italy a MotoGP title.
This is the front row of the grid then. Valentino Rossi, Sette Gibernau and Marco Melandri, but it's the world champion on pole. Welcome to MotoGP 2005. If you're just joining us, we're ready for 27 laps of this 4.423 kilometre circuit, the Jerez de la Frontera circuit and venue of the opening round of the season. Valentino Rossi, Sette Gibernau and Marco Melandri making up the front row of the grid.
30-second board goes. We look at the front row and right alongside them at the moment. The front row, Valentino Rossi, that number 46, as he goes through his usual routine of bending down, stretching his leathers, feeling his ankles, feeling other parts of his body. He's on the machine now. Alongside him, Sette Gibernau is ready to go. Alongside him, his teammate, Marco Melandri. We've waited all winter for this moment. Their riders are now out on their sighting lap, and MotoGP 2005 is almost underway.
As we said, it was a great qualifying performance from Marco Melandri, Nicky Hayden, but further down the grid there you'll have seen Colin Edwards in 15th place, Kenny Roberts in 14th and Max Biaggi in 16th place. Disastrous qualifying performance from him, his worst ever in the MotoGP class. He reckons it's worse than any 250 or 125 performance. Oh, well, he didn't actually do any 125 performances, but certainly in the 250 class. He says it's his worst qualifying performance since he raced in the Italian Sport Production Championship.
Listen to the noise, they're out on their sighting lap.
I had no choice to listen to the noise there, Nick. Absolutely deafening as these 990cc four-stroke MotoGP prototype machines take to the track for the warm-up lap. The opening round of the 2005 MotoGP World Championship. The Jerez circuit absolutely packed to the rafters here. And these machines, every one of them, a top quality machine and a top quality rider on board as well. They stream around the back of me here.
I tell you what is interesting, Matthew, all the teams, there's no threat of rain whatsoever, but they've all got their spare machines out there ready, following the rules that they will be the change machines if it did rain with a different set of tyres. They're all out there. Some are warming them up. You can probably, Nicky Hayden's Honda's certainly warming up. The Koto Tamada's Konica Minolta Honda is also warming up. Also the Proton KR machine. So there we go. It's not going to rain. It's very windy, but they're just getting things sorted out for when the rain does come. And you know and I know at some stage in the season that rain is going to come.
It's very interesting that they're doing that, but you've got to say, not a single cloud in the sky.
Not a sign, is there? Do they know something we don't?
Oh, maybe they do, but it seems to be really quite excessive preparation there from the teams, but they leave no stone unturned. These MotoGP teams. There's the spectator attendance, 127,089. I can barely hear myself speak here. We've got Nick Harris down in pit lane, still, I think, there with his head up the exhaust pipe of the Ducati.
Yeah, I certainly have. What an atmosphere. Jerez is one of the very, very top motorsport venues in the world. 2 wheels, 3 wheels, 4 wheels, whatever you like. And this is one of the biggest sporting events of the year in Spain. One of the biggest sporting events of the year in Europe. One of the top sporting events in the world. It's the Spanish Grand Prix here at Jerez. It's the opening round of the 17-round 2005 MotoGP World Championship. I could almost reach out and touch the world champion Valentino Rossi as he takes his place in pole position. Alongside him, the crowd's favourite, the runner-up for the last 2 years, the Spaniard Sette Gibernau, and then the young pretender, the young Italian, the former 250cc world champion Marco Melandri. The red flag is just about to be taken away. Welcome back to MotoGP.
21 riders with one sole aim, victory at the opening round of the 2005 Championship. Away they go, and it looked like an excellent start for Sette Gibernau. Troy Bayliss getting away well as well from the third row of the grid. It's Gibernau and Rossi side by side into the first corner. Rossi up the inside, Rossi runs it wide and Gibernau takes back the advantage. Gibernau leads, good start as well from Nicky Hayden from the second row of the grid up to third place. Marco Melandri there in fourth, and Colin Edwards trying to make his way through from 13th on the grid. Valentino Rossi, the MotoGP world champion, leads the Spanish Grand Prix at Jerez through the first few corners. Sete Gibernau leads the way from Rossi now. Nicky Hayden up on the inside of Rossi, and it's Hayden through to second. Two Hondas leading the way. Gibernau and Hayden from Rossi in third, Melandri in fourth. Bayliss in fifth place has just been overtaken actually by Shinya Nakano, but an excellent start to the race for the Australian on his Honda debut from the third row. Here comes Melandri up on the inside of his great friend Valentino Rossi as they go into the dry sack hairpin for the first time. Then through this fast series of sweeping left-handers, it will bring them round into the stadium section for the first time. Here they come, Gibernau from Hayden, from Rossi, from Melandri, Nakano, Bayliss, and then the two Ducatis doing well as well of Loris Capirossi and Carlos Checa. Listen to the roar from the crowd as they come around for the first time. It's Gibernau leading the way in his home Grand Prix. The Spanish flags are waving. They've been waving for the last hour or so since Dani Pedrosa celebrated victory in the 250cc race. Will they be celebrating again here? So far so good for Sete Gibernau. Into the left-hand hairpin, the Ducados corner for the first time. Gibernau leading the way. Hayden in second place. Now Hayden just closing in on Sete Gibernau. Can we see Hayden challenge for his first Grand Prix victory here in Jerez? They cross the line. Gibernau, Hayden, Rossi, Marco Melandri in fourth from Nakano, Bayliss, Capirossi, Checa, Hoffman, Elias, Tamada, Barros, Edwards, Roberts and Hopkins. What a great start as well that is for Tony Elias on his MotoGP debut there in 10th place on the Yamaha. He was the second highest Yamaha in qualifying, and he's the second highest Yamaha in the race here as well. Gibernau getting sideways already on the Honda, followed closely now by his factory colleague, but by no means a teammate, Nicky Hayden. Hayden out for glory here as well today. He was super fast in the test here 2 weeks ago. It was Hayden, Melandri and Hopkins then who set the pace. Hopkins struggling with a flu incidentally this weekend. He's down in 15th place now. I'm sure that would have been different if it wasn't for that bug biting him this weekend. But here's the top four men from qualifying already setting the pace in the race. Gibernau, Hayden, Rossi and Melandri. Then a slight gap forming now. Just around half a second to Shinya Nakano in fifth place. Troy Bayliss, what a brilliant start. All his fans keeping their fingers crossed throughout testing as he struggled to get to grips with that Honda. That come race day, he would be the Troy Bayliss of old, and he certainly is there, lapping in sixth place. Ahead of his old teammate on the Ducati, Loris Capirossi, and then Carlos Checa, who took his place in Ducati. How Bayliss would love to beat him this season.
Well, they're approaching the left-hander that brings them back into the start and finish straight. When they cross the line, there will be 25 laps left of this opening round of the 2005 World Championship, and what a race it is. Sete Gibernau leads the way, the Spaniard. Nicky Hayden in second place. Valentino Rossi in third place. Hayden and Gibernau, Rossi, Melandri, Nakano, Bayliss, Capirossi, Checa, Hoffman, Elias, Tamada and Barros all across the line. Now, what has Rossi got to do to beat the Hondas? He did it last year. Will he do it this year, especially after that crash he had this morning?
The fastest man on the circuit at the moment, Nick Valentino Rossi, a 1:41.373, and that is faster by around 2/10 than Sete Gibernau, who leads the way. And if I'm not much mistaken, that is a new circuit record here. In fact, it is. The existing circuit record is a 1:42.788 set by Valentino Rossi on the Honda in 2003. So that record has now been smashed by almost 1.5 seconds by Rossi already on the Yamaha.
Nicky Hayden just closing up a little bit there on Sete Gibernau as they break from top speed to the right-hander.
Rossi just running it wide there a little bit, Nick, and Marco Melandri almost taking advantage, but Rossi shoving him out of the way again as they come around these left-handers once again.
Yeah, certainly a mistake there by Valentino Rossi, and Melandri snapping at his heels. Are we going to see it again? Yes, we are. Look, he does run it wide. Runs it quite wide. There's the gap there for Marco Melandri, and Rossi just holds the advantage. He was lucky to hang on to third place there.
Yeah, I think Rossi just pulling rank on Marco Melandri there a little bit, wasn't he? But certainly Rossi running it wide. We've seen him do that. He did it in the free practice yesterday. He ran it straight into the gravel at that corner, and of course he crashed today. This is Ruben Schaus making his debut for the Fortuna Yamaha team, and already suffering from problems, it seems, with that bike.
Yeah, poor old Ruben Schaus, not the ideal start of the season for him, but the ideal start of the season certainly for Sete Gibernau and the Spanish crowd. The Hondas are beating the Yamaha at the moment, 24 to go. Gibernau leads, Hayden second, Rossi, Melandri, little bit of a gap then. Nakano absolutely flying on the Kawasaki. Troy Bayliss, great start by him. Loris Capirossi, Carlos Checa, Alex Hoffman, Makoto Tamada, Colin Edwards, Tony Elias, Alex Barros, Kenny Roberts and John Hopkins at the moment in 14th place.
A new circuit record, Nick, from Nicky Hayden in second place, a 1:40.960. The pace is absolutely electric here. Gibernau with a 1:40.994, but Hayden 0.03 of a second quicker than his factory colleague with that lap. A 1:40.960. That is a sensational lap time from Nicky Hayden, and that's almost as fast as his qualifying time, which was a 1:40.465 yesterday. Hayden actually got held up on that lap, otherwise I'm sure he would have been challenging for a front row start, if not pole position. He really has been that fast this weekend, and in the test here 2 weeks ago. He's been consistent on race tyres as well, and Hayden now starting to put pressure on Gibernau.
Yeah, as I came out of pit lane and came up here, I went past Nicky Hayden's dad Earl, and he looked mighty nervous. He shook my hand, and I could see that his eyes and his thoughts were elsewhere. Big season for Nicky Hayden. He's come from America, the AMA champion. He's done well in MotoGP, but now is the time to blossom, and certainly he's blossoming here in the first race, as is this man, Shinya Nakano. Of course, the Big Bang Kawasaki engine now, the Bridgestone tyres. It does seem a very good combination, and Nakano, runner-up in the 250cc championship, 5 years ago, really getting to grips now with MotoGP.
Yeah, they've made big progress, haven't they, Nick? And I think a big part of that has been the arrival of Ichiro Yoda from Yamaha. He worked for over 20 years with Yamaha, one of the real geniuses behind the M1. We're seeing Makoto Tamada here pass Alex Hoffman for 9th place on the brakes. But just going back to Kawasaki there, Ichiro Yoda, as I said, moving to Kawasaki. He was going to retire, actually, Yoda, but his close relationship with Shinya Nakano, the tandem there between those two men, not too dissimilar to the Burgess-Rossi relationship at Yamaha, and they've really dragged Kawasaki by the scruff of its neck up to a competitive pace here, and those new Bridgestone tyres as well really making a difference to the performance of that bike. But the biggest thing, as you say, Nick, a Big Bang engine for Kawasaki, which they brought out at February.
Here comes Rossi, sorry to butt in. Rossi up the inside of Nicky Hayden. Did he take him? They were braking at the end of the straight. Let's see if Valentino Rossi has moved into second place. Yes, he has. Rossi up into second place. The champion has been stung into action. He's now got Sete Gibernau in his sights. 22.5 laps to go. Rossi in second place. Gibernau leads, Hayden third.
Well, the 3 lap times that we saw from them, Nick, on the previous lap, all in 40.8. Here's the pass from Rossi on the brakes with Hayden. As you can see, this is a very difficult pass to do, Nick, at this point of the circuit, because you get deep in on the brakes here, as Rossi did, into that hairpin, and it's very difficult to get out again because it is such a tight corner. But as you can see, he shoves Nicky Hayden wide and then drags it round.
He really did. It was more like a speedway overtaking move, didn't he? Once he got through up the inside, there was no way Nicky Hayden was going to get back at him. Rossi, I'm not saying riding too aggressively, but riding very purposely, and well, it's going to be a terrific battle between the Hondas against the Yamaha. I think probably the Kawasaki won't get up with the front men. I think it's between Gibernau, Rossi, Hayden, and perhaps even Melandri. Rossi means business, Gibernau leads, and Nicky Hayden is going very well in third place, and there's Melandri just tucked in behind them. Then there's the gap, Nakano, Troy Bayliss, what a Honda debut for him, Carlos Checa, Makoto Tamada, Loris Capirossi riding with that broken bone in his ankle, and Alex Hoffman in 10th place. Behind him, Colin Edwards, Alex Barros, Tony Elias, Kenny Roberts, John Hopkins, Max Biaggi. What a disappointment for Max Biaggi. Currently running in 16th place, Max Biaggi. Robbie Rolfo, James Ellison and Franco Battaglini in 20th place.
Well, we'll talk about Max Biaggi in a minute, Nick, but we're looking at Valentino Rossi here reeling in Sete Gibernau at the front. That lap time on the previous lap, a 1:40.596, another circuit record here at Jerez. An absolutely sensational start to this race in terms of lap times. We're seeing the lap record smashed virtually on every lap so far, and that lap from Rossi, 1:40.596. That would have put him 5th on the grid in qualifying. That's how fast that lap is, and now he's closing in on Sete Gibernau. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is on his second machine.
Yeah, and this is still with 21.5 laps to go. The crowd, they haven't gone quiet. They never go quiet here, but there's just a and anticipation that problems are afoot for the race leader and the hero of the crowd, Sete Gibernau. Rossi closes all the time. Will he be content to stay in second place, or will he want to get in the lead and do a Danny Pedrosa and grind out a result? Sete Gibernau is going to have something to say about that. 21 laps to go. They're at the top end of the circuit. The right-hander after the start and finish straight. A glimpse there of Shinya Nakano going so well in 5th place. Troy Bayliss 6th, coming under a little bit of pressure now from Carlos Checa. Makoto Tamada, you expect him higher than 9th. Alex Barros and Colin Edwards. But the race at the front is deja vu. It's Gibernau and Rossi.
Nicky Hayden doing everything he can here just to keep pace with these two, and it probably wouldn't be such a bad thing for Hayden if Rossi could start getting mixed up with Gibernau and those two had a bit of a tangle. It would be great to see Hayden and Melandri get involved in this as well. At the moment, as I said, it's all they can do to stay in touch. Here comes Rossi at the end of the back straight, once again onto the brakes, into this right-hand hairpin, and not quite close enough to do on Gibernau what he did to Hayden 2 laps ago.
He thought about it, didn't he? He sized him up, he thought about it, a long, long way to go, and decided just to wait. He's going to have a go. Well, will he be soon? I think with Nicky Hayden so close, Rossi will want to try and get past Gibernau. Doesn't want to take any risks. If he can get past him and open up a bit of a gap, that will be a bit better, because he might have Nicky Hayden and Marco Melandri to contend with if he doesn't get past him. He really is all over the rear wheel now of the Honda. But Nicky Hayden doing a fabulous job hanging on the 2 best riders in the world. Nicky Hayden is hanging in there with them with 20 and a half laps to go.
As soon as they start getting tangled up as well, Nick, as I said, Nicky Hayden's going to be there, because these two are going to start taking tenths out of each other in a minute, because Rossi is all over him, and we could see an attack here from Rossi as they come down the straight once more. Yamaha have worked so hard in the winter. They've produced a slimmer engine, a slimmer chassis and slimmer fairing to increase the top speed of that Yamaha, and it certainly seemed to help down the back straight on the last lap. Not close enough this time as they come down the front straight, but maybe we'll see another attack from Rossi. This is Ruben Schaus here. He's actually been lapped because he's had those mechanical problems. We saw him in the pits just a few moments ago.
Yeah, just momentarily when I saw a red bike back there, I thought, oh golly, somebody's got past Shinya Nakano. Could it be Carlos Checa? But no, it is Schaus, as you rightly say. Now Rossi does seem close, although Rossi now coming under pressure from Nicky Hayden. Rossi just dropped off Gibernau a little bit, and perhaps Nicky Hayden can do a Rossi on Rossi himself at the end of the fastest part of the circuit, about 185, 190 miles an hour here. 6th gear now, then they have the brake very hard indeed for the 2nd gear right-hander. Hayden thinks about it, but stays behind Valentino Rossi, and in the meantime Marco Melandri just admires them in 4th place.
I don't know about admiring them, he's doing his level best to stay with them, isn't he, Nick? He knows that the 3 men in front of him have set the pace in qualifying. He's been up there with them as well, and we talk about consistency. Marco Melandri, again, it wasn't just throwing in a soft tire at the end of the session and setting a front row time. He's worked all winter on race setting, and Marco Melandri has really matured. He's shown that level of maturity over the winter and just not bothered about lap times, and that was the thing that he said was the biggest change for him this year, that psychological change of not looking around him at what other guys were doing and trying to go as fast as them every time he went out on the track, but sitting down with his mechanics, working to find a good race setup, a good consistent pace that's going to allow him to have races like this, and that's what he's doing. He's riding consistently. He's 4th fastest at the moment, but he's in there, and he knows that he's getting closer and closer to challenging for victories here. It's a good race from Marco Melandri in 4th. It's a good race from Nicky Hayden in 3rd as well. And well, the pace just dropping off there slightly, Nick, already. It's we're down into the 141s after those mid 140s, and I don't know if Rossi's having trouble here, but we've got to. There's a big question mark here, Nick, about race size, isn't there? About durability, and these guys have gone out and absolutely hammered their tyres over the first 8 laps.
Yeah, and it's very interesting to see. Rossi really is coming under pressure now from Nicky Hayden, and Gibernau at the front. It's opened up a gap of nearly 1 second, and it's Rossi holding up Hayden. I think that's probably a little bit unfair on Valentino Rossi, but here they are on the back straight again, and I think Hayden knows he's got to get past Rossi soon, as Gibernau could get away at the front, but Rossi defends well, inside line, absolutely no chance of Nicky Hayden going past him there, but Gibernau is getting away a little bit at the front, because Rossi spent his tyres already. I can't imagine he has. And Nicky Hayden hanging on there very, very well indeed. And Marco Melandri, as you say, in 4th place. Well, he's not admiring the action, as I say, but he's just thinking, I'm hanging in there, but he can't quite run with these top men at the moment. Shinya Nakano still in 5th place. Carlos Checa 6th. Good ride by Carlos Checa. Makoto Tamada now up into 7th. Troy Bayliss 8th. 9th is Alex Barros. 10th is Colin Edwards. 11th is Alex Hoffman. Tony Elias dropping off the pace a bit now in 12th. 13th, Max Biaggi. Great disappointment. 14th Kenny Roberts, 15th Loris Capirossi, probably feeling pain now from that injured ankle, and a disappointing show at the moment by John Hopkins, suffering from the flu. He's out of the points in 16th place.
Nicky Hayden running around the outside a little bit there of Valentino Rossi. It does look as though he's got the pace to get past Rossi at some point. The problem is at this track, it's not the easiest track to overtake at. There's really, two braking zones, two major braking zones. This is one of them at the end of the front straight, the right-hander. And there's Melandri now a little bit adrift in fourth, but really, actually Gibernau just slowing down a little bit there, Nick. He lost 3/10 from his previous lap, a 1:41.2 from Gibernau, 1:41.0 from Rossi and 1:41.2 from Hayden. So the pace, as I said, just slowing down a little bit in this race after that hectic start, just starting to settle.
Yeah, and I think, as you would so rightly say, there are two real overtaking opportunities here. One just about to come up, but with all that dust on the circuit, you don't want to get out on the marbles, as Dennis Noyes, our old friend, used to say. I think if you get off the racing line, it's very, very dirty indeed. It's very, very dusty. You've got to be very careful, as you can find out, as certain riders in the 250cc class, mainly Casey Stoner and, of course, Randy De Punier, were running third in that race, crashed out. Racing line's important. There's a lot of dust. There's a lot of dirt on the circuit being blown up by the wind, and it really, the two overtaking places seem to be at the end of the back straight, the fastest part of the circuit, and then coming into the start and finish straight. And wouldn't it be great if we had to wait till then, the very last lap, to decide the winner of this race? It's happened there before.
It's a family affair. That's Sete Gibernau's father on the left, his current girlfriend Esther Cañadas, the Spanish supermodel, in the middle, and his sister Cristina on the right. And his helmet was designed by Cristina's husband, who's a graphic designer, Sete Gibernau's new helmet. But Valentino Rossi is right on him and getting a close look at that helmet now. He's right up behind the Spaniard as they enter the start-finish straight once more. It looks as though Gibernau might have shaken him off, but here they come once again. It does look to me as though that Honda still has a good bit of extra horsepower in down the straights here. Gibernau eked out a slight advantage. 17 laps to go. It's Gibernau, Rossi and Hayden fighting it out here for victory in the Spanish Grand Prix.
16 3/4 laps to go. The pace is hot. The weather is hot. A record crowd for a Sunday here. Almost 130,000 people. They're enjoying every minute of it, and certainly 99% of the crowd are enjoying it even more, because it's a Spaniard that leads away. Valentino Rossi crashed out of the morning warm-up session. He was okay, but he's riding the number 2 Yamaha in this race. And in third place, the former AMA American Superbike champion, Nicky Hayden, desperate to make his mark now in MotoGP in his third full season.
Well, Nicky Hayden's teammate Max Biaggi, Nick, we mentioned him earlier in the race. He qualified 16th fastest here today. He's had a lot of problems with the engine mapping system of the Honda. He's really struggled with it. There's been some big changes there at Repsol Honda. Irv Kanemoto coming back in. Of course, Max Biaggi joining. Pete Benson, Nicky Hayden's former telemetry engineer, taking over as chief mechanic. And also changes in management as well. And really, some confusion there. They've really not been clear. Certainly Max Biaggi seems to think that about development. And once again, it's got to be said, Max Biaggi complaining about his bike. He's been doing it all weekend, and he's actually making his way through now up to 12th place, but really not where he should be.
No, we said before the program started, before the race started, this is a big, big season for Max Biaggi. This is his season, isn't it? He's now riding for the official works team. He's always said that he wants to be riding the number 1 bike. He's got the number 1 bike. It's not going well for him. The number 1 bike, you would imagine, is in the hands of Sete Gibernau as he strives to stay in front of Valentino Rossi. Further down the field, Nicky Hayden and Marco Melandri. Shinji Nakano still going very well indeed. Tamada beginning to make his presence felt. He's up into 6th place. Barros recovering from a bad start is 7th. Carlos Checa 8th. Troy Bayliss just dropping off the pace a little bit, now in 9th place. Colin Edwards, the former World Superbike champion, 10th. Alex Hoffman 11th. 12th, Max Biaggi, disappointing. Tony Elias, his first MotoGP race, in 13th place. 14th is Kenny Roberts. 15th, the injured Loris Capirossi, and the only other man across the line at the moment in 16th place, the Anglo-American John Hopkins on the Suzuki.
Well, the pace still in the low 141s at the moment. A 141.2 from Gibernau, 141.2 from Rossi, and as expected, the only men who've proven in qualifying that they will be able to live with that pace are Marco Melandri and Nicky Hayden. They're both in the low, mid to low 141s at the moment. There's Colin Edwards. He actually has had a pace in around the high 141s, Colin Edwards, as has Carlos Checa. And really, it was just in qualifying. Well, Carlos Checo, of course, suffering with injury, but consistency-wise, Colin Edwards on a race tyre was very good indeed. The problem for Edwards was that he found when he put a qualifying tyre in, the rear qualifying tyre from Michelin is so good now that it pushes the front end a lot harder, and Edwards was tucking the front end all over the circuit yesterday on qualifying tyres. He didn't have that problem with the race tyre, so he was actually happier with the race tyre than he was with the qualifier. And now Edwards starting to make up some ground. He's up to 10th place after qualifying 13th.
Across the line, 15 laps to go. The gap between Valentino Rossi and Sete Gibernau. Gibernau leading is just under 0.3 of a second. I don't think timings really matter. You can see how close it is. It did appear at one stage Gibernau was getting away. Rossi has reeled him back in, and you just get the feeling it's going to be between these two once again. Nicky Hayden's done a great job in third place. He's just dropping off the pace a little bit from Valentino Rossi. A podium finish for Nicky Hayden would be a fantastic result. And Marco Melandri now in fourth place, but a little bit of a lonely fourth place. And it's the two men that thrilled us last year who are back out in front here in Spain, the opening round of the championship. And Valentino Rossi, without a shadow of a doubt now, is stalking Sete Gibernau at the front.
I can just see, Nick, you'll know better than me, you're down there in pit lane, but Kenny Roberts has just ridden past me in the front of the commentary box here. It looks as though Kenny Roberts has retired with a mechanical problem on the Suzuki. Not a good day for Suzuki. There he is, just got back to the box. He's with his chief mechanic, new chief mechanic for this season, Tom O'Kane, formerly of Proton Team KR. Of course, Kenny Roberts Senior's Grand Prix team. But disappointing end to Kenny Roberts' day, and his teammate John Hopkins, after showing so much pace during the test here and in qualifying, as we said before, suffering with a severe bout of flu here and actually lapping in 15th place at the moment. But Rossi is stalking Gibernau, and they are closer now than they have been at any point during this race, Nick.
They come through the start and finish area, not side by side, but if you say they're closer than they've ever been. They crossed the line 14 laps ago of this 27-lap race, not even in a half distance, and the gap about 0.3 of a second. I don't think that really matters. Rossi is close. We just get a glimpse there of Nicky Hayden. He's hanging in there, Nicky Hayden, and perhaps we're going to see a little burst from the American before the end of the race. But Gibernau really seems to have got his head together after the bitter disappointments of losing the championship last year. He was so disappointed. There was the problems in Qatar when he fell out big style with Valentino Rossi. Since then, he really wasn't a very happy chappy. He lost the championship. Rossi really beat him on the track and certainly beat him off the track. He's come back really refreshed this year, Sete Gibernau. He's got his head together. He's got a very, very good team around him, and he is absolutely determined to beat Valentino Rossi. But Valentino Rossi is Valentino Rossi. This is going to be a fantastic last 13 and a half laps.
Well, how many times, Nick, have we seen Nicky Hayden at the top of our screens just hanging on to the race leaders there? I seem to remember it at Brazil last year and Sachsenring as well, Phillip Island. We've seen it several times before, but never quite able to convert that and make the next step up. But he's in the right place at the moment, less than a second behind Gibernau and Rossi, and in the right place to take advantage if there are any shenanigans between those two. Smiles from Shane Byrne, who's back in his pit. One can only assume that there's been a mechanical problem with the Proton KR machine powered by KTM. That was that bike's race debut here, but Shane Byrne gets to put his feet up and watch the rest of this intriguing first race of the season. So the pace at the front then as they cross the line once more. Sete Gibernau. Let's check the lap times now. Well, 141.233 from Gibernau, 141.342 from Rossi, 141.4 from Hayden, 141.7 from Melandri, the only four men in the 141s. This next group behind them, led by Shinya Nakano, they're in the 142s. Here comes Nakano with a 142.6. Alex Barros, a 141.8, really closing down Shinya Nakano there. And Makoto Tamada, as you can see, in 7th place now, where he was on the grid, in fact, has got past Troy Bayliss, and he's coming through really well. Colin Edwards has got past Carlos Checo, meanwhile. Edwards now up to 9th place, and with a bit of clear track in front of him to his old World Superbike sparring partner Bayliss in 8th place. And Makoto Tamada didn't get a good start from 7th on the grid, actually, but to be fair to him, we've perhaps been led to expect a little bit more from him with his performances last year on those Bridgestone tyres. Remember, 2 victories, unforgettable victories in Brazil and Motegi, and switches to Michelin for this season. And of course, he's required time to get used to those tyres. Slight skip out of the seat actually there. But he's been quick and consistent in pre-season, and he's certainly got the talent to run at the front. But Nakano now, he's got these three Hondas breathing down his neck. Nakano on the Kawasaki, and it looks like three dogs after a fox, doesn't it? They're absolutely hunting him down now, and Nakano's going to have all on here over the final, just over 12 laps to hang on there in 5th place.
Hey Matthew, right, I'm in the Proton KTM pit with Shane Byrne, watching the action from the wrong side of the fence. Shaky, what was the problem?
To be honest, I'm not 100% sure. The bike was the first couple of laps was running a little bit rough, and then it seemed to get better and fix itself, and I thought, oh, that's all right, so we'll carry on. But then it took a bit of a turn for the worse round the back of the circuit, and I couldn't stop it revving. It was kind of revved up a little bit, and the throttle couldn't shut, so I thought I had to call it a day, unfortunately. But he'll be back here soon, and I'm sure the guys will fix it in no time.
Yeah, you haven't got long to wait, have you? Estoril, be practiced in 5 days' time? So, but it's a tough schedule for you all coming in so late into the championship.
Yeah, I better get back to the motorhome really and get playing the PlayStation, because I ain't got a clue where Estoril goes, but it gives me 5 days to learn it on there now, eh?
Jackie, thanks, and good luck at Estoril.
Cheers, Nick, thank you.
Well, there you go. Any PlayStation fans out there, you're not the only people to learn the tracks that way. I know I certainly do. And Shaky Byrne also as well, top level races of course. And Shaky Byrne, double winner at the World Superbike races, a wildcard at Brands Hatch 2 seasons ago, had his initiation year in MotoGP last year with the ill-fated Aprilia project, and now riding for that Proton Team KR machine with the KTM engine. And as I said, first race for them this season, and really it's just an extra test, isn't it? A first Grand Prix, a stage of development that they're in.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Matthew. I mean, they came into the game so late, didn't they? And that really has shown. I think they had 3 tests, didn't they, before the race, and that's going to happen. He's a very amiable character, Shane Byrne. Very, very good rider. Obviously, the British Superbike champion. He also won the 2 World Superbike races at Brands Hatch that year. Very talented man, and it's obviously a great disappointment for him, but he turned down a lot of big offers to ride in Britain in the British Superbike Championship. Also some big offers, I think, to ride in the World Superbike Championship. No, he didn't want to do any of those. He wanted to still ride in MotoGP. He still regards it as the absolute top MotoGP, and that's where he is. But at the moment, as he say, he's sitting on the wrong side of the fence, but he's going to get onto that PlayStation and see exactly where Estoril is and what's going on.
Well, hopefully we'll see him on the right side of the fence and at the right end of the field before too long. This is the right end of the field, and 2 men who are well used to being there are the top 2 riders from MotoGP for the last 2 seasons. For 2003 and 2004, the top man was Valentino Rossi. Tete Gibernau played second fiddle. Will he be doing it in 2005? He's not played second fiddle at all today. He's led all the way here in the Jerez sunshine. And now this is Alex Barros up to 5th place.
I just put in
Matthew.
Yeah, I've just put in because I've got Paul Denning, the Suzuki MotoGP team manager, with me. Disappointment there for Kenny Roberts, Paul.
Yeah, it's been a disappointing race full stop after we showed so much promise during the test. But yeah, I think Kenny was there just trying to keep the thing in the points and learn a bit about the bike over race distance. Unfortunately had a fault which made the bike impossible to ride, and I can't really say any more than that.
And John Hopkins obviously suffering from the flu and having a disappointing race after going so well in testing and in practice.
Yeah, we've suffered with John's illness, but I'm not really sure that's the problem today. I think there's more to it than that. I think the changing conditions definitely seems to have hurt us a lot more than our rivals. We were hoping to at least get the bike somewhere challenging towards the top 10, and yes, it's been a disappointing race. Can't say any more than that.
Paul, thanks for talking to us.
Paul Denning, of course, taking over as team manager for that MotoGP Suzuki effort this year after several successful years in the British Superbike Championship as team manager for Ritzler Suzuki, and really not the ideal start he was looking for here in Jerez. His number 1 rider, or rather lead rider today, Kenny Roberts, retiring with a mechanical problem, and John Hopkins, who was hoping to challenge for the podium this weekend, is about to be lapped by Gibernau and Rossi. And that is certainly not something that he will be too happy about.
No, I think Paul Denning's voice, you didn't see his facial expression, said it all after obviously looking so good in testing and even in practice, perhaps not quite so much in qualifying. It's been a very big disappointment for the Suzuki team. I think we expected great things of them. They've obviously still got a long, long way to go. Kenny Roberts had a mechanical problem, as Paul Denning told you, and John Hopkins just a little bit off the pace and caught out by the conditions more than anything else. And I think they'll be glad to get to Estoril. But what a race we have at the front. 9.5 laps to go. Rossi is going to make his move. How many times have we said this? Rossi is going to make his move soon, but when is he going to make it? I can't believe he's going to leave it to the very end, but he's sizing it up once again as they come back into the start and finish straight.
With 10 laps to go, and Nicky Hayden is still keeping an eye on this. He's actually 2 seconds down now on Valentino Rossi. Hayden in third place. He's got a 4-second advantage over Marco Melandri, but he's there. And again, as I said, we've got 9 laps to go, and if Valentino Rossi does decide to make his move on Sete Gibernau any sooner than the last lap, and these two start getting the handbags out and start having a good old scrap, which is what we're hoping for here for Nicky Hayden's sake, because it will give Hayden a chance to just keep his head down and take a few attempts and maybe, hopefully, those couple of seconds back on them. Here is the fight for 7th place between Makoto Tamada and Troy Bayliss. There's Barros in 5th, Nakano in 6th, then a slight gap to Tamada in 7th, and Troy Bayliss currently lapping in 8th on his Honda debut. Max Biaggi, incidentally, there, you just got a glimpse of him in 9th place. He's just got past Colin Edwards, so things looking decidedly better from Max Biaggi than they did last night when he qualified 16th on the grid.
Yeah, and of course he made a dreadful start. What was he down in 16th place early in the race? So this is a better show by Biaggi. Troy Bayliss, I think, Troy Bayliss is never happy unless he wins a race, but that would be a very, very good opening Honda ride from Troy Bayliss. I'm a bit breathless, aren't I? Been running up the stairs after talking to all those people in pit lane, but this is a cracking race at the front. And who's your money on with 8.5 to go? Surely it's got to be on Rossi.
Well, my money at the start of the day, Nick, was on Rossi, simply because Rossi and Gibernau have been absolutely side by side all weekend in terms of the lap times that they've been doing. This is Max Biaggi here in 9th place. As you said, Nick, he got a bad start from 16th. He went down to 17th on the second lap, but he's really fought back hard over the last 10 laps or so, and he's now up to 9th. But yeah, I just feel, Nick, a personal opinion, purely personal opinion, that Rossi has the edge when it comes to riding ability. And when these two are so close in terms of lap times, as I said, they have been that way all weekend, and it comes down to a straight head-to-head between them. I just fancy Rossi, and I think that Rossi has proved that last season in these head-to-head battles with Gibernau, that he has the mental edge and the riding edge as well.
Well, you certainly could describe this as head-to-head, couldn't you? It's a duel in the sun, the two best motorcycle racers in the world by a mile. This is Alex Barros. Alex Barros is not having such a bad ride either, currently in 5th place, ahead of his teammate Max Biaggi, who we've already spoken about. But here we are, Rossi sizes him up once again. They're on the brakes, but he's not close enough to actually make a move on Sete Gibernau. Gibernau, I'm sure, at the front must be thinking, when is he going to come? He is going to have a go soon. Surely he's not going to leave it to the very, very end. And Rossi, I'm sure, has got a plan and a strategy. And if Gibernau doesn't make a mistake at the front, he will put that strategy into play. It's going to be a very, very close fought affair. I can't believe Rossi would leave it to the very last bend on the very last lap, but I wouldn't put anything past him.
Yamaha General Manager Masao Furusawa there watching on very closely indeed, and you've got to think from Sete Gibernau's perspective, Nick, as you said, what would you be thinking if you were him now? He knows he's there. He can probably hear that Yamaha behind him, and you'd be thinking, well, I'm just going to let him past it just to get it over with, because let's get it on, let's see what you've got, because he must be absolutely sick of him towing him all the way around this circuit here. We've got, 7 laps to go now as they come round once more. And it really is wonderful to see this Honda and Yamaha a step ahead of the rest once again. They were a step ahead last year. They've taken it to a new level this year. There's Satoru Hurike, who's taken over as managing director of HRC from Koji Nakajima this year. And we've lost Nicky Hayden from 3rd place. Nicky Hayden has crashed. He's been pushed back onto the track here. But Nicky Hayden, who was pushing so hard to stay in touch with Gibernau and Rossi, has gone. There's his dad, Earl Hayden. And I'm sure that his brothers Tommy and Roger Lee and the rest of the family are watching back in the States as well. So disappointing that Nicky Hayden was in with a shout all the way, and just like Casey Stoner in the 250cc race, lapping on his own in 3rd place, looked guaranteed for a podium, and all of a sudden, just a few laps from the end, those hopes are gone.
Done all the hard work, hadn't he? He'd done all the hard work. As you say, 20 laps he'd ridden to the limit, done quite brilliantly. Ride with Nicky Hayden. He's going to go straight on here. No, he loses I think probably the front end. Down he goes into the gravel. He was unhurt. I think he's got back actually on the bike, but he seemed to lose the front end. And here is Nicky Hayden. Any chance he had of the podium, disappearing in the gravel here in Spain. That's scant reward for a very, very good ride. But as we've seen in the previous races here, you've got to concentrate all the way through. The two at the front certainly are. 6.5 to go. Gibernau thinking, come on, get to the front. Let me know what you're going to do. Rossi thinking, I'm just going to hang in here and make you think and make you worry.
I'm very interested to see what the lap time is here, Nick, because it looks to me as though Gibernau and Rossi are starting to push again. The last lap was a 41.349. We were saying, what is Gibernau's mindset here? Perhaps he's thinking to himself, right, let's go. He's going to start pushing it once again. Rossi wants to stay with him. Let's see him stay all the way to the end here. The lap time then from Sete Gibernau across the line, it's a 141.146, so not as fast as I expected. I was maybe thinking we were going to get into the 141 dead, maybe even the high 140s again. Perhaps a bit too much to ask at this late stage of the race. The pace still very fast though. Gibernau 141.1 as I said, Rossi 142, and then Marco Melandri, who's now up to third place after that crash for Nicky Hayden, a 142.3. Alex Barros a 142.6, just to show you the difference in pace here at the moment. Gibernau and Rossi still 1.5 seconds quicker than these guys in this battle for fourth place. It's Barros from Nakano, Bayliss who's got he's got in front again of Makoto Tamada for sixth place, and then Max Biaggi behind Tamada in eighth.
That's a very good performance by the new Zito Pons team, isn't it? Alex Barros fourth and Troy Bayliss in sixth place. But all eyes now focus on this battle. What a great onboard shot. We ride with Sete Gibernau. That speck in the distance that gets bigger sometimes is the blue Yamaha, I nearly said Honda, of the world champion Valentino Rossi.
Just to show, Nick, again, I'm just talking about the pace of these front two, are 1.5 seconds quicker than the likes of Alex Barros behind them. Barros in fourth place is 23 seconds down on the race leader, Sete Gibernau, and that not only is it testament to Gibernau and Rossi, but it's also testament to the pace that Nicky Hayden was doing in third place to try and stay in touch, and Marco Melandri as well. Marco Melandri, who's 9.7 seconds down on Rossi in third place, but it just goes to show these guys at the moment are a cut above the rest. They have been for the last 2 years, and it looks as though 2005 is going the same way. Will there be one major difference? Will it be Sete Gibernau who takes the advantage from Valentino Rossi? And there's Nicky Hayden into the pits, and he is going to be very, very disappointed indeed. And well, they're checking the front brake, and not sure if perhaps that's something that happened in the crash or whether it was a contributing factor to the crash. It was certainly on the brakes that Hayden crashed, and it looked like a front end problem as well, so that could be the case. But when the cookie crumbles, this is what we got left. Two men going head to head for victory. 5 laps to go, or 4.5 laps to go now, and it's Gibernau and Rossi all the way.
This is one of the big head-to-heads in world sport at the moment, isn't it? The Italian world champion and the Spaniard who's desperate to win the world title. They've been at each other's throats for the last 2 years out on the track. And after that incident in Qatar last year where Rossi accused Gibernau of telling the authorities that they'd cleaned the grid before the start of the race, they're not friends off the track. They don't talk off the track. They certainly don't talk on the track. Both are desperate to win this race, and it's still Sete Gibernau that leads the way with 4.5 laps to go. But you just know that Rossi is going to make a move at some point. There is Alex Barros currently in 4th place, Shinya Nakano 5th, Troy Bayliss in 6th place, Max Biaggi coming through the field in 7th, Makoto Tamada a rather disappointing 8th, 9th is Colin Edwards, and 10th is Carlos Checa. And Marco Melandri, he said he'd be very happy, didn't he, when we spoke to him on the front row of the grid to finish on the podium. Concentrate hard, Marco, because that 3rd place beckons.
I just thought to put something right here. I did actually say that John Hopkins had been lapped on the number 21 Suzuki. It was actually Franco Battaini on the number 27 WCM. So things not quite as bad for Suzuki as perhaps we made out, but certainly not good. John Hopkins currently in 14th place, and as we heard before, Kenny Roberts has retired. Marco Melandri, as you said, Nick, concentrating hard there in 3rd place. Wonderful ride here from Marco Melandri. His debut with Honda in MotoGP, and really starting to fulfill the talent that he showed as a Honda rider as a 15-year-old in the 125s.
That's right, youngest ever Grand Prix winner in the 125 class. Didn't actually win the 125cc World Championship. He won the 250cc World Championship. came into MotoGP in a great blaze of glory for Yamaha, had a very, very bad accident at his very first race at Suzuka in Japan, and really in many ways he never recovered from that, and he's never looked happy with the Yamaha. We saw glimpses of his form, didn't he, when he looked very quick indeed. He's gone to Fausto Cressini, he's fathered him in many, many ways. They've done more laps of testing than any other rider. I'm sure he's told him just to take things easy, gently ease into it, and he's looked very, very impressive. He's looked the rider we thought he would be 2 years ago when he came into MotoGP after winning that 250cc championship. Now look at that crowd. They're trying to urge on Sete Gibernau. They're trying to suck him along. But Valentino Rossi's hanging in there. He may leave it to the very, very end. You remember those battles back in the late 90s between Alex Crivier and Mick Doohan? They were always left to this bend. Sometimes the crowd were on the track. Alex Crivier, I remember, crashing on one occasion. Is it going to go down to that? Just look at those flags. Look at that crowd. They're not Italian. They want him to win.
We'll see Norick Abe's name there on the reverse, of course, because Abe was a teammate to Rossi at Yamaha last year.
He threw me. I think Norick Abe, isn't he riding in the World Superbike Championship now?
Yeah, but of course
we're getting the wrong pictures.
Yeah, they must be using the same pit boards as last year. But yeah, as you said, Nick, he's comparing Sete Gibernau to Alex Crivier. For some reason, Gibernau has not really captured the imagination of the Spanish public in the way that Alex Crivier did, in the way that Dani Pedrosa is doing now, maybe even Alberto Puig in the past as well. But really making a name for himself though this year. He's winning them over with the way that he's taken the challenge to Valentino Rossi, his attitude as well this season. He wants to win races, and I would say that it's a pretty split crowd here this weekend between Rossi fans and Gibernau fans, but believe you me, those Spanish flags are going to be waving if Gibernau can hold on for victory here. 2.5 laps to go now. They sweep round back into the stadium section, and Rossi again running it a little bit wide there into the hairpin, Nick. We've seen him do that a couple of times.
Yeah, I think we were on board with him when he did that. He did run it wide. Jerry Burgess looks on. He obviously wants Valentino Rossi to win the race. 25 points. With 20 points wouldn't be a bad haul from the first race, certainly with these 3 races in the space of 3 weeks. We're at Estoril in Portugal next weekend, a week at home, and then the very first MotoGP race in China. They're watching in China at the moment. I would think they're licking their lips and rubbing their hands, thinking, let's have some of this. Valentino Rossi's leaving it very, very late indeed. He's up the inside. Valentino Rossi takes the lead for the first time. Rossi leads. Can he hold the line as they come up the start and finish straight? They can. Rossi leads. They're almost side by side. 2 laps to go. The champion takes the lead.
The gloves are off with 2 laps to go. Sete Gibernau's girlfriend looks on. It's 10th times in the Movistar Honda box. It's 10th times on the track as well. Rossi leading the Spanish Grand Prix from the home favourite Sete Gibernau. Gibernau closes up as they come through the tight right-hander. Sweep around the back of the circuit here, around the back of these commentary boxes, through these fast left-handers. Rossi leading the way from Gibernau. Let's see what it's got now. 2 laps to go, and it's open season. They're fighting it all the way for the final 2 laps.
Rossi's trying to open up a gap. Gibernau will not let him do so. They're on the back straight. Fastest part of this Jerez circuit, 180 miles an hour now, 6th gear, down through the gearbox, down into second. Gibernau looks up the inside, then decides, I will wait. We still have another 1.5 laps.
45 miles an hour through there, 1st gear right-hander, then 95 miles an hour through here, 3rd gear, it's 3rd all the way here. Drop down into 2nd in a minute just for this left-hander, and then hold it in 2nd all the way. They come down to Angel Nieto corner now, and this is the first time that this section of the crowd have seen Valentino Rossi in the lead. It will be stunned silence in comparison to the previous few laps. Rossi is imposing his dominance now on Gibernau with just over 1 lap to go. Here they come through these fast right-handers again. So important to get a good line through here. Could the race be decided in this left-hand corner?
And Rossi is just opening up a bit of a gap. Gibernau will not be close enough here to break him into the left-hander. He'll want to be a lot closer if he's going to win this race on the very last bend. 1 lap to go at the Spanish Grand Prix here at Jerez. Rossi leads. Gibernau in 2nd place. The gloves are off, and Rossi is on a flyer.
Well, anybody who wanted to leave this circuit early here to avoid the track, traffic is going to have to stay to the very, very end. It's a head-to-head all the way to the line between Rossi and Gibernau. Here they go once again through the Michelin corner, then flick it left. They come round through this long 3rd gear series to the left. Here's Marco Melandri, still riding well in 3rd place. Alex Barros currently a long way back in 4th place. Melandri set for his first podium of the season, his first podium for Honda in MotoGP, but all eyes now are on this battle as they come down the back straight. Here's a chance now for Gibernau if he can slipstream Rossi here, but look at the top speed of the Yamaha, Nick. That is a big improvement from last year. We know that they've worked on the narrowness of the engine, the narrowness of the chassis, but Rossi runs it wide again. Oh, he's running wide once again. Here, can he fight back on the inside into the left-hander? No. Gibernau sweeps around the outside. They come back into the stadium section for the final time. The crowd are going to go wild as Sete Gibernau leads the Spanish Grand Prix through the final series of corners.
They're coming into the right-handers. Now Rossi's going to have one more attempt, surely, at the tight left-hander that brings them back into the start and finish straight. Sete Gibernau leads. Look at the crowd. 127,000 Spaniards go absolutely crazy. Into the right-hander. Rossi's got the inside. Rossi's back in front. He runs in wide. Now who has the best position for the right-hander? It's Gibernau. Rossi surely going to try and get up the inside of Gibernau. Gibernau holds the pole position. They break for the left-hander. Rossi up the inside.
Oh, they touch. Well, Rossi, Gibernau's running wide. Oh, Rossi's bunting him off the track. Rossi's going to take victory in the Spanish Grand Prix. Gibernau's in the gravel. Can he get back on the track in time to take second?
Do they get any better than that? Valentino Rossi wins the Spanish Grand Prix. Sete Gibernau is in the gravel. Gibernau's back on the bike. He crosses the line in second place. He cannot believe it. Rossi wins. Gibernau second, a collision on the very last bend. If you know any other motorsport that's better than this, please tell me, because I've not seen a better race for a very, very long time.
Well, Gibernau's girlfriend Esther Cañadas there and his sister Cristina in hugging each other as consolation there. I wouldn't mind being hugging them for consolation either, but fortunately not my chance. But certainly there, I think, well, we'll have a look at it now, Nick. Give us your opinion on this one. Rossi getting very, very tight, and well, very hard to say, isn't it?
Yeah,
there, but he was always going to lead. He was always going to go at the inside there, wasn't he?
He had to go up the inside there. I really didn't think he was particularly well placed. He puts his foot down, but did he actually pull into the space that Sete Gibernau was in? I don't know. It's very, very hard to say. Let's hope that race direction don't get involved. What a race, what a start to the season. Rossi, still the king.
Well, Juan Martinez there, Sete Gibernau's chief mechanic. I don't know if he's scrapping around for the rule books there or what, but Gibernau is absolutely devastated with that. He's waving now to the crowd, but he gave it the big thumbs down as he crossed the line. He's not happy. He did what he could today. He couldn't do much more than that. But Rossi, we all know about the talent and the flamboyant and the fun-loving nature of the Italian. But when it comes to racing as well, he's got that determination and grit. And I just wonder if he's getting booed there from the crowd. Well, Nick, I tell you, I can hear whistles and boos coming from that crowd, and that is not something that Valentino Rossi is used to hearing.
No, his man, he's done a very good job, though. He's the away team, isn't he? He's the away team playing the big club at home. And if you get the boos from the crowd, it usually means you've done a very good job. What a race. What will the repercussions be? Will there be any repercussions? I'm racing down the steps now to try and get into pit lane to find out exactly what's going on. But what a start to the new season, and controversy already.
I can't believe that there isn't going to be an appeal from Sete Gibernau's team. Rossi's going to stand on top of the podium here almost definitely and celebrate victory, but it could be a couple of hours after this race that we actually find out, because I am sure there's going to be an appeal here from Gibernau's team about that manoeuvre from Rossi. There's got to be. And I tell you what, Nick, as well, Gibernau, we saw, you remember at Motegi with the season before last, Makoto Tamada clashing with Gibernau at the end of the back straight there, and Gibernau running into the gravel. If that was worthy of disqualifying Makoto Tamada from that race, which personally I don't think it was, but if it was, and race direction said that it was, I think they might have to do the same here to Rossi.
Well, let's see if we can get a word with somebody from race direction, or perhaps I would imagine they're already looking at the video, wouldn't you? In they come, Valentino Rossi into Parc Ferme. The celebrations start. We still await now for Marco Melandri. He's on the podium. He said he wanted to get on the podium. He's there. We still wait for Sete Gibernau. And here comes Sete Gibernau. And he does not look a happy man. And Valentino Rossi has absolutely smoked out Parc Ferme with wrecking his rear tyre. I think he's pretty happy with the way things have gone.
Well, now we will see the reaction. Gibernau taking a long, hard look at Rossi through his helmet there. But I would be very, very surprised if there is anything Oh, the shout, oh, the Spanish crowd here, the whole stand in front of me are singing fuera, which means out. They want Rossi banned from this race. It's thumbs down all the way in front of me here. They're whistling and booing Valentino Rossi. Gibernau takes a look across at him. It's absolute drama here. It started off this morning with drama as Rossi crashed out of the warm-up, and it's ended with drama in the final corner.
Oh, it's absolutely amazing, you're right. Everybody in the crowd is standing up. They are giving Valentino Rossi a hard time. He doesn't care. He's won the race. But is that the end of things? We endeavour to find out. These things usually take a little bit of time, don't they, to sort themselves out. Will Fausto Gracina's team make a protest about that very, very last minute overtaking manoeuvre by Valentino Rossi? What a start to the season. We're going to be here for a long, long time. I'm trying to catch a word with Jerry Burgess. He's going to walk past me. Let's see if we can just catch a word with him. Here he is. Second machine, wasn't too bad, was it?
Not too bad, Nick, no. Very good race, very tactical race. Valentino sitting in behind Sete till the second to last lap. I think he probably made a little bit of a mistake because he had sort of 0.3 on him through the first section, and I think outbraked himself a little bit at the end of the back straight and allowed Sete to get back into it, and then it was what you saw on the television, and I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, haven't you? Well, I think we wait to see what the outcome will be. There definitely was a collision, and Sete went out into the gravel. I don't know if there'll be any problems after that, but what a fabulous start to the season.
Fantastic, thanks, Nick.
Thank you, Jerry.
Jeremy Burgess there, it was like Arsene Wenger in football there, wasn't it? The Arsenal manager. I didn't see it.
Sorry, didn't see a thing. No, touched. I don't think they touched.
Well, I think Gibernau is claiming the moral victory down there in Parc Ferme. Anyway,
he might claim a moral victory, but he's 5 points behind him in the World Championship. But, well, it is like being in a big football match, isn't it? They are giving Rossi a hard time. He doesn't seem too worried about it, though, does he?
No, Marco Melandri doesn't seem too worried about it either, does he? He's got third place. That's all he's bothered about. And absolutely, there's words exchanged there between Gibernau and Rossi, and Gibernau's assistant Edu also giving Rossi an earful as well, and asking him what all that was about. And Nick, you remember Assen last year as well. These two came together on that lap, and Gibernau certainly wasn't happy with him on that occasion, and even more unhappy with him now.
He is very unhappy with him. I've got to do the press conference later. That could be fun, couldn't it, eh?
Good luck.
We'll have to watch out on what happens there. But
yeah, we're just seeing it again, Nick, the replay here. And, I don't know. Rossi is very, very deep in the brake. As you say, his foot came off. You can see the contact here better than anywhere else. But it's really the fact that his foot came off the peg, for me, suggests that he was a bit out of control, a bit too deep. And... well, we'll find out now from the riders what they have to say in the TV interviews. But
well, there's a lot of controversy perhaps going on at one end of pit lane. No controversy here. Great ride by Troy Bayliss. He's had his problems in the winter, but when it mattered, he came back and did the business. Troy, great ride, your debut for Honda.
Yeah, well, it's nice just to get the first one under the belt, and it wasn't a bad result, and I did what I could do today. I'm reasonably happy. Just we're both asking myself, it's a top 10. Well, way to go, and I'm sure it's only going to get better.
You made one of those Troy Bayliss starts, though, didn't you? It was a great start.
Overall, the winter test, I only decided to practice one yesterday. The guy said you better practice one, and yeah, it's no problem.
Great to talk to you, Troy. Good luck in Estoril, and good to see you back scoring points.
Yeah, we look forward to it. Should be nice.
Well, I think I'll go for everybody here when I say well done to Troy Bayliss. And as you said before, Nick, everybody was disappointed, really. A lot of people in the paddock a bit disillusioned with the fact that he was released by Ducati and replaced by Carlos Checa, and everybody was delighted to see him on a Honda. And I think, as I said, I speak for a lot of people, especially back home in Australia. Well done, Troy. 6th place today. An excellent ride from him. And good to see his teammate as well, Alex Barros, also riding well to 4th place. A long way to go, though. 17 rounds of this season still to go. But this is the way the championship looks after one round, for now, at least. Valentino Rossi, 25 points. Sete Gibernau, 20 points for 2nd place. Marco Melandri, of course, on the podium on his Honda debut in 3rd. Alex Barros, 4th. Shinya Nakano 5th on the Kawasaki, and Troy Bayliss in 6th on that Honda. Colin Edwards fighting his way up to 9th place from 13th on the grid. And Tony Elias, a good ride from him into 12th on his MotoGP debut with Yamaha. Loris Capirossi fighting the effects of a chipped bone in his ankle to take 13th. Well, time to get your breath back at home. Just time for me to get my breath back here. All action today, all the drama really is something to remember, and we're going to hear now from the riders what their thoughts were. I'm sure you've got your thoughts about it as well at home. If you're a Valentino Rossi fan and you're a Sette Gibernau fan, I'm sure they'll be very, very different indeed. I'm really not sure what to say, to be honest. It's such a controversial situation.
Well, we can't win, really, can we?
No, this is it.
There was an amazing last bend. I love Jerry Burgess' commenting. No, I didn't see it. Arsene Wenger, wasn't it? Oh, I didn't see anything. No, I wasn't watching it at the time, but there's going to be some controversy. What I'm doing now, I'm actually come out of pit lane. I'm back into the paddock, and I thought I'd make my way towards sort of race direction, at least get some idea if any protest has been made, or if there is a protest, how long it will take. And I think we go from there. And in the meantime, you're obviously going to hear the riders and what they have to say when they are interviewed after the podium ceremony.
Well, look out for any Movistar uniforms going into the control tower, Nick, that's all I can say. But away from the controversy at the end of the lap, it was a great race all the way through. Rossi making his way past Nicky Hayden there to get up to second place, shoving Hayden out of the way. He showed a real determination to win today, Valentino Rossi, whatever you think of that last corner. Alex Barros eventually passed him. Shinya Nakano had a wonderful ride on the Kawasaki to finish 5th. And this was a crash for Nicky Hayden out of the 3rd position. It looked like a stick-on podium for him, but Hayden crashing out just a few laps from the end, and this was the tension in the final few laps. This was the corner where we saw Valentino Rossi initially take the lead from Sette Gibernau with 2 laps to go. And as Jeremy Burgess said, he took 3/10 out of Gibernau in the first split, but then ran it wide once again at the hairpin. There you can see it, ran it wide at the hairpin, and he had done 2 or 3 times during the race. And then we saw this head-to-head through the fast rights. Rossi just getting a little bit out of shape on the exit there. Gibernau taking the advantage into the second right and into the final left. But Rossi was always going to do this. The foot came off the peg. That's the key to me that says he was slightly out of control. But Gibernau punted off the crash. Brivio's hands on his head. Davide Brivio, the team director for Gold Wars Yamaha. At the end of the day, the points will read 25 to Yamaha and Valentino Rossi. They look pretty happy about it there. Rossi celebrates to the boos of the Spanish crowd. And any moment now, we're going to get their thoughts in the TV interviews, and let's just hear what Rossi and Gibernau have to say about it. Well, first of all, of course, I'm forgetting all about the podium ceremony, and it wouldn't be quite the same without it.
That's easy to do after that, isn't it? Yeah.
So desperate to hear what these riders have got to say. I'm really intrigued to hear what Gibernau's got to say about it. I'm pretty sure what Rossi's going to say about it. He's going to say, well, I've just passed him in the final corner. That's it. With Church, that's racing. And there you go. Probably a few anyways, and
yeah,
and it was a funny race.
Good fun, and probably a word that we can't say on television thrown in about the last lap.
Yeah, well, there'll be plenty of words said there on the podium as well. We've got Rossi coming through now, up the steps, making his way to the podium. He's no stranger, of course, to the podium. He stepped onto the top step at the opening round of 2005 at Welcome after a stunning race there with his main rival at the time, Max Biaggi, but his relationship with Sette Gibernau has gone pretty much the same way as his relationship with Max Biaggi. And look at he's laughing at Gibernau. Gibernau's obviously having a real moan there in front of him, and I think the smile there from Rossi said it all. He's probably as happy to rough Gibernau up in this way and have that psychological edge over him.
I think you're absolutely right there. I think as long as the result stays the same, he'll be really, really pleased, because he's roughed him up. He's won the race. Psychologically, he leads the way. Points, he leads the way. And he's still got time to sign over.
Thing is, Nick, as well, we saw Gibernau win the BMW in the official test at Catalunya, and he said that when he won that car for the second the fastest time in that test, he was less bothered about the car and more bothered about Rossi's reaction to losing it. He banged his fist on the tank, Valentino Rossi, when he realised Gibernau had beaten him. And now, again, it's that psychological edge, isn't it? It's that psychological reaction. Rossi, it will mean as much to him to see Gibernau absolutely demoralised here at his home Grand Prix, as it will mean that as much to him to see that as it will to take victory, I think.
Now, he's getting a pretty good reception actually from the crowd, isn't he? I think the Spaniards aren't particularly happy. He shakes hands with Marco Melandri. Yeah, just. Only just. He offered the hand. He said they didn't want to shake it, but he thought, well, I better in front of everybody.
He thought about it, didn't he, Gibernau? He thought about that for a long time. The flags are waving.
Brilliant, isn't it? It's absolutely brilliant start of the season. What a race. A bit of controversy, as good a race as you ever want to see. Oh, I'm already excited about Estoril in a week's time.
Well, it's a tight track, isn't it, Estoril, Nick? It's one of the shortest tracks on the MotoGP calendar, and if we've seen some bumping together today, there could be a bit more at Estoril.
Yeah, they certainly could. Put some bumpers on the cars, but what a ride by Rossi, what a ride by Gibernau, Marco Melandri, and the man you've got to feel sorry for, Nicky Hayden, what a disappointment for him. Alex Barros did very well in 4th place. Meccano confirmed what we already knew about Kawasaki. Troy Bayliss got rid of his debut on Honda and did so well in 6th place. Max Piaggio, I suppose you've got to say, did okay really, didn't he, after such a bad start, after such bad qualifying. But now the fun and games are about to start. Rossi wins again.
Would have been a perfect day, wouldn't it, for Honda Movistar. Marco Melandri 3rd, almost Sete Gibernau 1st. As it is, it's a fairly decent day for them. Both riders on the podium. Rossi on top of it, of course. Gibernau dedicates his 2nd place to the wonderful crowd here at Jerez. 127,000 of them here. 327 million people following this race on television around the world, by the way. You're not alone. MotoGP fans all over the world now, in every corner of the globe, and I'm sure every one of you will have enjoyed today as much as we have. Valentino Rossi celebrates victory in the opening round of the 2005 MotoGP World Championship. He's already on course for his 5th successive title. 16 rounds to go, 16 chances for Sete Gibernau to take revenge. He's holding his arm there on the grid, on the podium. Sete Gibernau, not sure how much theatre's involved in that as he laments that last corner manoeuvre from Rossi. But here we are, the Italian national anthem, as we've heard so many times. Well, Nick, have you ever heard an Italian national anthem booed like that?
Yeah, I think when England, when Italy played England in some World Cup game or European Championship game, but apart from that, definitely not. No, they're not happy, are they, about it? Valentino Rossi, though, he won't worry about that, will he? Just put his arms on his hips and to say, "Okay, boo as much as you like. I've won the race." But it's quite a good pose, actually, isn't it? Yeah. He doesn't seem too worried about it. But of course, next week down in Estoril, also big Spanish following go down there to watch the race. The sparks are really going to fly. Oh, we wanted some controversy. We wanted some close racing. I don't think anybody thought it would go down to that very last bend, and then a collision between the two very best racers in the world. It really, Matthew, doesn't get any better than this, does it?
Well, we keep saying that every season, but it seems to get better every year, doesn't it? But yeah, certainly I would say there'd be a big Spanish crowd going down to Estoril to lend their support to Gibernau here, who's hurt his arm so much he can't pick up his champagne, the poor lad. But Valentino Rossi spraying the champagne on his behalf. It was a really wonderful performance from Rossi. Again, whatever you think about that last corner, it was an incredible ride on his 2nd bike after crashing his #1 machine in the warm-up this morning. And that is why he's world champion at the end of the day, and it bags the talent and bags of determination to go with it.
Well, that's right. I mean, he made a mistake, didn't he? Jerry Burgess admitted he made a mistake coming into those last series of bends, but that's not enough. Many people would have said, well, I've made the mistake, 20 points, I crashed this morning, that's okay. That's not Valentino Rossi, is it? He has to win the race.